Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to CLCI Live.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I compulsively yawn. I'm not
No more
bored.
yawning.
I'm just tired today, and I'm so sorry.
We are excited to be back. And if you are excited to be here watching, be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment on the video, interact with us, get us to wake up, tell us a joke, something to let us know that we are reaching any sort of audience. Last week, we talked about altruism being a superpower. This week, we were talking about when clients walk away and redefining success in coaching. So,
I think
what does
this
it
is a good.
mean when a client walks
Share.
away?
We said that, right?
I
Yeah.
think this is a good topic that has a lot of angles to it. So, especially for our alumni.
Yeah.
And when we talk about walking away, we're not talking strictly about like a client, they paid for 10 sessions, they've completed 10 sessions, you guys now part.
We could be talking about that. I mean, it's not necessary. I mean, we could be that, but it doesn't have
I guess
to
so.
be that. But yeah.
But if we're redefining, that sounds like a success in coaching. That sounds like we both.
But it's not always.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like it.
My goodness.
I know. I'm getting saucy. It sounds like a success though when two parties come together and they say, "Hey, we're gonna get together for 10 sessions," and then it happens.
Yeah, but
Whether or not they're successful with their goal. If the coaching happened and the coaching was paid for and the 10 sessions were happen and then the coaching ended after the 10 sessions, at a minimum that's successful as a coaching relationship.
Yes, but there are coaches that are potentially not going to feel that way based on several things that I'm sure we're going to be discussing.
I suppose so. I guess I'm clarifying my intention with this is when we're talking about clients walking away, they are walking away from the coaching relationship. They're saying, "This ain't for me. I'm breaking up. You are not the right coach for me, or coaching is not right for me, or this goal's not right for me, and I am deuces. I'm out."
Yeah, I mean that's I think the main part of it, but I think there's more nuance to the ending, the separation of the coach-client relationship than just potentially the client saying, "Hey, you're not the right coach for me." There's lots of different scenarios.
a lot of different things that can happen. Yeah, for sure.
Such as,
really quick though, our topic is like redefining success, right?
Mm-hmm.
In coaching, and I think that concept of like why we would have to redefine what success is it. I mean, it may not even necessarily be the client walking away. It could be ghosting. It could be like a number of things could happen. But as a coach, whatever that outcome is, but if it's not what the expected outcome is, if it isn't that ideal, we've done all the sessions, it was great, I've completed my goal and I'm out, boom, thanks for all your help, and we part ways. If it's anything else that isn't that, right, or better than that, we could probably feel like it wasn't successful, right? Like that was not a successful coach-client interaction. And I think what this topic is about is that's not always true, right? We can redefine.
It's managing your expectations of what success looks like when you are the coach.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think that like if we talk about like I think that's important because everything isn't perfect. I think more times than we want to admit.
I'm listening to what you're saying, and there's, especially I think for people just beginning in the coaching world and following the rules and the expectations of who we are as a coach and managing all of that, I think a lot of overthinking tends to go into it. And they start self-evaluating if they don't get the typical signs, the feedback minds that they are expecting from their clients, a coach can go into, um, you know, self-check mode, if you will, and feel like they may not have done a good job. Really, the idea is if you're following through with asking the client what they got out of today's session at the end, then you're getting that confirmation. If you're getting, this sucked and this session was terrible, that's going to be something different. But I don't think people need to, when they're coming to a coach, I don't think they're coming with a defiant mind, if you will, in the sense of they're coming to you because they want to work on something. They're not coming to you because somebody told them to, typically. I mean, I had couples, there's sometimes one was you do this or else. I'm not talking about that in an essence. And so that overthinking moment where it could be thought to have done not a good job in a coaching session, that ending of checking in with what the client's walking away with asserts whether or not that's true. The other side of that is a lot of the times in between your time together. So if you're going week to week, let's say this week and then next week they come in, there's usually all kinds of additional growth that they did in between the sessions that you know, a lot of the times they may not finish a session, they may not get everything they wanted to get out in a session because of time constraints. Yet there's a lot of work that still continues to go into the process. We used to call this when a client finally feels comfortable with you and shares something, doorknob theory. When they touch that doorknob, they dropped all kinds of really interesting tidbits, but nothing that you can work on because it's time to go, right? So there's a lot of different parameters that, you know, like Brooke was saying, that could make it feel like it's an unsuccessful experience, coaching experience, and yet often isn't.
Yeah, and I for sure. And also I think too, when we're talking about like coaching relationships ending, there's a lot of ways that they can end that are less than ideal or what we expect. I think the most common thing that will happen, at least for me, is and this is of course when we're doing things like reciprocoaching or is the clients just ghost you. They just don't. They're there, you're going, and then all of a sudden they just don't show.
It's just like dating.
And you're like, what happened here? Like,
yeah, I mean, in essence, it is like dating, right?
So there's a lot of feelings that can come from that as a coach. Jen, what are your thoughts right now?
So I've not had that happen with a paid client. I've not had a paid client ghost me, but I have had, you know, a pro bono ghost me. And so for me, it's about how do I choose to think about that? Usually it doesn't make sense to choose a narrative where I've done something wrong when I know I've done my due diligence to be aligned with the ICF competencies and ethics, right? So there's that foundation that I trust. And so if someone ghosts me, it's typically just a matter of, I assume the best, to be quite honest with you. I assume they must have something going on. There must be a good reason. Potentially they don't feel safe enough to express the fact that they don't want to continue. So they just decided to do it silently. That's totally fine. That doesn't bother me at all. I don't take that personally at all. So I think in this moment, there's an opportunity for the coach to really decide. But I will say, you know, if you were doing unethical things, if you didn't have your competencies as your foundation, then this is a very different conversation. Then yes, you have potentially done stuff that has caused this. Having the ICF foundation really helps with, you know, that sense of safety for me to move forward without, really thinking a storyline that it's me. Yeah, of course it could be, but the odds are, as long as I follow the competencies and the ethics, that it's not.
I'll say this though, I have had not too many, but a couple paid clients, and then it's typically it was in a consulting it's that when I was doing the $99, right, thing for 30 minutes of time with me, and they just didn't show. And there were ones that contacted me quickly afterwards, quickly afterwards, and were like, oh no, X, Y, or Z happened, and they wanted to reschedule. And then there were ones, I had one that contacted me, like I'm telling you, like 2 or 3 weeks later. And like at that point, the learning for me that it became was, well, what am I willing to do with regard to where is my boundaries with me being understanding of people, messing up their schedule, making mistakes and things like that, and having to get really clear for me with what didn't feel like I was being taken advantage of at that point, or like it's, I don't know, it feels almost like, and this might be to me reading too much into it, but it feels at some point it starts to feel disrespectful of my time when I'm showing up and I'm there, and 10 minutes goes by, 15 minutes, I'm sitting and waiting, right? And for me, I don't just go into a session without doing a little prep before. My ADHD brain has to sort of like plan time, and I can't get into a project because I know I'm going to have to stop to go over here. So like it is this like a disruption that happens in what would be an otherwise like standard work day. And so I had to really like define, okay, what am I comfortable with? How do I want to handle this? Is this just a you get charged again situation, or do I give people a little grace now and again?
I'm getting a little bit of deja vu from what Brooke is saying right now. I'm sure Lisa and Jen, you might get the same feeling of deja vu.
Why?
You're describing a situation that is happening in the back.
I see.
I mean, I'm not going to get too into detail, but like,
Oh, yeah.
we have a situation that is happening right now that we are working through.
I think it happens in every practice, right? You have to define boundaries, but it's also rules. You have to define what works for you and what doesn't work for you. That's the boundary. But you have to set up the rules that back up what you want your boundary to be. And in those rules, it's respect to yourself and respect of your time and respect of your energy, and setting aside this space for someone who just doesn't show up feels, and I don't ever think they do it intentionally, but it feels disrespectful. And then to often have, and usually for me, it was my first time clients. It
was always first time. Yeah,
the
for sure.
established client is usually that first time client.
The established ones seem to like reach out. I did have some established clients that were notorious for being late or needing to reschedule, but there's also like something I knew about them. It's kind of like me and my hairstylist have a relationship where we both understand very well if the other one has to reschedule. Like we've got this like give and take, and we both will do it for each other. And I think that there are some people you can do that with, and some people you can't do that. Some situations you can, and some you can't, and you sort of learn about each other. What's interesting too is as we're sharing, there's like another piece in this that was something that came up that was some in one of my coaching sessions. And this, again, it was one of our staff student coaching situations where we as staff give coaching to our alumni. And because the alumni don't have to pay, they don't always show up, or if they do show up, they often don't. I had one that was very distracted. She was just like she had like 50 things going on all the time, like yelling at her kids mid-phone, like everything. And it was an adventure every time we would meet. And it's funny, a lot of the time was me spent just like waiting for her to like come back in to the coaching session. And you wonder as a coach, like, how successful is this when she is so very distracted in a lot of these sessions. I mean, I did my best in that situation, but I could see if it wasn't a staff student coaching situation and it was my personal practice, it might be something that I end up defining, like, we need to, this needs to be, you need to, how do we set time for this to happen? And so that you get your own time, like, so you get your money's worth. If you're paying me, I want you to get your money's worth, and you're not going to get it if you've got, if you're cooking dinner, watching your kids. And I mean, so that might be a big hurdle for some people to be able to find that time. Or
to change the medium.
Yeah.
How coaching is delivered, like in person versus
yeah.
online. It could be a bit challenging.
Jen, thoughts?
So Lisa had mentioned the rules, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, where do we define the rules from the beginning?
And that's in a contract, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're all
Hi,
talking
Kat.
about, hi, Kat. Yeah. We're talking about these things that, like, might come up and make you feel like you're a little, like, things are being a little less successful. But let's just go into the, like, nail on the head. It was one of the examples given in, like, our ICF article, where they had a client that made a very dramatic exit. I think it was in an executive coaching situation.
Yeah, it sounded like it was in a sponsored container.
Internal.
Yeah. And, the coach had done everything he could do. I think she could do and, like, was going above and beyond and trying to make it work and trying to make everybody happy and trying to make the coaching relationship work. And then at the end of the day, months later, client quits and doesn't do it quietly, and it is a thing. And
dramatic.
It was a dramatic exit. And I can imagine what a coach's ego, we all have one, right? I mean, we talk about ego like it's a bad word, but we all have one. But what that could do to somebody's confidence and self-esteem when you've been an otherwise successful coach and you suddenly have things go in such a different way for you. I'm sure we've all had that outside of coaching, that experience where, like, hey, I have been this way and I've done this and it's worked for everybody else. And then you come into a situation and suddenly it goes the complete opposite direction you expect. And that is, I mean, your head spins around for a second and you go, whoa, that was not what I was expecting. What are your thoughts there? What happened? I mean, we can talk about what we think that felt like for the coach, or what it might feel like for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you're saying is we're human, and obviously we care, and to have someone leave so abruptly and with such a loud ending, that can be disconcerting. But at the same time, you have to know that a lot of the times, like what I already said, even with that said, in between coaching, stuff happens for the client. And a lot of the times, if they left, and I'm thinking of one of my clients, and they were upset with something that was reflected, they thought about it in that next week and came back and recognized where they wanted to make that change. Whereas you're talking about, it was just cut and dry. I would have some concerns. And if I got to know my client, I might have maybe some expectations that is their part of their who they are.
Yeah, some of the thoughts that came up in this ICF article that we're referencing, we'll put it in the chat and the information.
There was a quote that I loved from it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Before you say it, it was, you can't own someone else's success. And I thought about the inverse of that would be, you also can't own someone else's failure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in this situation, you can't take accountability for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you could, but why would you?
It's not.
How would that serve you as a coach to continue on doing your job?
But I think that every coach will have probably that moment where we go, oh man, what did I do wrong? Why couldn't I fix this? how could I have done better? What could I have? And that's what, so this is what comes up. Guilt for not fixing things is like one of the things that comes up. Self-doubt disguised as empathy. And the slow erosion of your own boundaries is kind of what starts to happen in these situations where, and so I think if we talk, I think the guilt for not fixing thing is straightforward. Self-doubt disguised as empathy. What do we think that is? I think that is essentially like us listening to what that client is saying about you as a coach or about the coaching space, and saying, I'm empathizing, but instead it's actually you doubting yourself as a coach, right?
Yeah, like you're using
Like
Potentially.
believing the client, empathizing with the client, but what it's leading to is me doubting my ability to coach when that client is not happy with coaching.
or
That
your
makes
own
sense.
self-doubt is like a crutch. Or no, your empathy is a crutch because you have self-doubt.
Yes.
I'm doubtful, and my go-to method is to be empathetic because that's worked in my interpersonal relationships. I'm an empathetic person, so that's kind of my default. And if I'm not in the coaching mindset, I could easily just default to that as a crutch.
Like it can also, couldn't it also be like I feel because this person was upset because of this and that and the other thing, now I'm empathizing with them and it's now making me doubt my what I'm capable of doing, what my coaching is like, what the coaching container, and I start to doubt all of this education and things that I have that are supposed to work and have worked in the past. But because now I am empathizing with this negative experience of this client in this coaching container, I could see that all that self-doubt coming forward. It's me not being, because now I'm not being confident. I'm letting that empathy sort of erode my confidence in my coaching, which would be our self-doubt. I think that sort of.
Well, and hopefully you have more than one client that you're working with so that you recognize that that's their stuff versus who you are.
Yeah.
Most often, again, like Jen said, if you're following the guidelines, if you're following what it means to be a coach, and you're not giving that advice and you're not telling them what to do, and you have the better pieces of information than they do, we're talking about the coach the trained coach.
And then the third one, the slow erosion of your own boundaries, is, I think that's we're people pleasing, right? Well, maybe if I adjust here or try here, it's going to work better. You know what I mean?
Do more here, or just bend this boundary a little bit for this person here.
Yeah. And then that all kind of can be really, I think that all of that can be very emotionally taxing for a coach. So I think when in this kind of situation where you have this bigger sort of like harder breakup, it does become important to kind of self-reflect, right? And step back, and evaluate, but not in a way, I think in a way that's productive. Like that's where that
beat yourself up. It's not a beat yourself up moment. Right?
Yeah, the success we can bring out of that negative breakup, right? I'm just going to call it a breakup, is that now we have the opportunity to learn the boundaries we don't want to erode, how we can do better, or be stronger in the confidence of what we're doing. And sort of it offers it as an opportunity to redefine and solidify things for you. I think I have had an emotional breakup, not like a emotional, but like a harder. And this was not in a coaching space. This was in it was when I was doing graphic design and everything. And there was had a more higher friction breakup. But also the woman was essentially stealing my business. Like she wanted to do exactly what I was doing and everything. And she was building her model based on what I was doing with her. And but I mean, I think she was at the end of the day, I feel like she was a narcissist. I got a lot of those vibes from her, and I felt like she was trying to like get in and get under and manipulate me. And when I ended the relationship, she did not handle it well. I ended the relationship, but she did not take it well, and it was a thing. So it's not always perfect. We try our best. But I think that's true in business, right? I mean, if you have a business, if you're doing anything, at some point there's going to be a friction point. So in this, one of the things they talk about in this is what Jen mentioned earlier, which is making sure that we have formal language in our documentation, taking care of yourself as a coach, and like starting to notice when you're being too attached to outcomes. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. So detaching from the person's or the client, or if you're coaching someone sponsored, detaching from their performance, from their perceived growth, from all of it, because it's not yours, it's theirs.
Yeah. I'm thinking of an example of some clients I had. My perceived growth, if I were judging it, I didn't think they were growing. But when I asked them, they gave me all clues and considerations on where they are growing.
Yep.
So that self is ego, self-talk, that ego that gets in the way of us being coaches, that's the work for you to do outside of the session.
Yep. The coach has to always remember that growth is not always visible to you as a coach. There's growth happening that you're not going to see. You're just not.
One of the things that's interesting though in this is they don't really cover in this. So I want to put it out there to you guys and ask how you might figure this out. She said in the article, I rate how invested I am in the client's outcomes, which essentially is that personal, making sure we're not
the auditing of her attachment to the client.
But how might I know that? Like, as me as a coach, like how can I'm wondering what the signs are that I am getting attached to the outcomes. What might those signs be, or how might I know that as a newer coach?
I think you already listed one as working harder than your client. I call it jumping through hoops. If you're bending backwards trying to help your client and get your client, and that's kind of the word, get your client, that's the mistake. That's working way too hard. And I felt in that trap like a new coach does, where I kept trying to do things and ask things, and then finally I went, what am I missing here? I don't know what I'm missing. And then I asked that question, what am I missing? And then I got all kinds of interesting information from that. And that's when I recognized for myself that I was doing all this hoop jumping and not letting the client do that work.
If you find yourself up late at night thinking about your client, I'm pretty sure that's a sign.
Well, if you're looking out a window, just like daydreaming.
If you're
that's a good one.
About how to be a better coach, that's different. But if you're up thinking about, did they follow through? Did they get on, Jerome? That is perfect.
Or just even thinking about, like psychoanalyzing, like going way beyond your role as a coach, in the way you're thinking about them and trying to figure them out. Yeah, no, I'm saying that from experience, obviously.
I think one of the things too that is important. Like, I remember having this conversation. We were leaving, and this was in my fitness stuff. But I was walking with the owner of the studio, and one of the things that happens when it's a studio full of women, and so at some point sad things happen with these ladies, right? And I think one of our ladies has had a miscarriage, and so she was sharing it and everything. And there was like a couple things where it was like 3 or 4 like sadder things that happened to our clients. And we were walking out, and Allie was like, it makes me so sad that like all of these things can happen. Like, I feel so bad for them and all of that. And what's interesting is part of my coaching training kicked in at that time. Like, part of my coaching training said, we're not supposed to take this stuff with us though. Like, we're not supposed to take their pain with us. That's not our job. That isn't helping anybody, right? So I think like even in that situation, and we kind of had a conversation about it, about having empathy in that moment with them, but letting that pain and experience be theirs and not making it mine. And that is really the healthy and more helpful thing to do. It's one thing to care and feel bad, but it's another thing to then go home and be sad.
Well, that's sympathy, right? Be in sympathy for that moment versus the empathy, and knowing where I begin and you begin and end is an important phase. I often use that Venn diagram. Even in an overlap spot when we're together talking, we become separated. So I don't own anything that you shared with me as you don't own anything I shared with you. It becomes an important place to know where you begin and end, and the people that you care about begin and end. And that's, we can talk about some psychological terms like enmeshment in that space. It's about not being enmeshed.
And I think, though, it is natural for us to feel like if something terrible happens, right? If somebody has loses a baby or something, that is, of course, we're going to have that moment and we're going to feel bad and feel sad, and that is normal. But if you're carrying all of that all the time, that's going to be a lot for you as a human being. So we have to learn how to have those tools to reset and let go and leave those things, especially if that the emotional things that are coming up in your session are something you personally have gone through something similar, right? In your past, that can sometimes scratch a healed wound.
Yep.
And so that's when it becomes really important for us to do that reset moment, and have the skills or the things we need in place for that to happen. And so that's definitely signs we're becoming possibly emotionally invested in outcomes and things like that. Like I can imagine, like, oh my gosh, I really want this good thing to happen for them so bad. All of this bad stuff has happened and I want it so bad. But truthfully, me as a coach, I have my only ability to affect that is to be there and be a coach. And then outside of that, it's out of our hands. So what can we do? And it's gonna drive you a little crazy if you just
you're talking about a coach who's running towards burnout on that other people's ownership of things.
Another we're talking about, or we were, the auditing of the coach's attachment. I love this concept, actually. One of the big ones for me, not so much anymore, but in the beginning. In the beginning, I was very much tying the value of me as a coach to the aha moment, the breakthrough moment. And so if that didn't happen, I was like, oh, I'm not a good coach. I'm not doing my job. I'm not serving this client. This client isn't getting their money's worth. And I was incredibly attached to the session looking a certain way. And that was not good. That's perfect. If you notice that, if you're auditing your attachment and you notice that you are always wanting it to look and feel a certain way, and you're displeased when it doesn't, or you're disappointed when it doesn't, that's your work as a coach, because not every client is going to have, first of all, a breakthrough every session. Also, everyone's breakthroughs and aha moments present different. They're expressed different. I have some clients who don't really give me a lot of expressiveness when they're having these moments. So it's different. Like, if you're in a session with me, I'm like, oh my God, like it's life changing. I'm expecting somebody to do that with me. Like, that's silly. No, not everyone thinks like that or acts like that. And so just, making sure you understand the scope of how different each client can be in their learning and in their growth. It's all very different, and just being willing to accept them and not expect them to have any sort of performative response as they're learning and growing. I think that was a big one for me, is settling in that and recognizing, okay, good coaching doesn't always look like the good coaching we see, which is performative, right? That's the coaching that gets put online. That's the ones that get put in seminars. That's the ones that people sign up immediately after they see it because they're like, oh my gosh. No, that's not what real coaching looks like.
I mean, for me as a client, it would be exhausting if like I had to have that like deep crying emotional aha moment in every session. And I would like,
100%.
I would dread that. Like, I'd be like, oh my
Yes.
God, maybe I don't want to, I don't know if I have
I
the
don't want to do
emotional
this.
availability to do coaching this week. You know what I mean? Like, so I like
Yep.
know that, like, know that you're like your client,
Yep.
it might be really taxing for your client to have that kind of breakthrough every time you see them.
Yep. 100%.
And I can see a client rescheduling, putting distance because they don't want to go down that path.
Yep.
Anthony, thoughts?
We talked a lot about the emotional side of being attached or invested in your clients. What is interesting, though, with the example that we're given from the ICF article with the internal coach, is from the get-go, you could be financially and career-wise invested in the outcome of this client. Can you imagine the situation that this coach might be in if the person who left loudly and dramatically, that this wasn't the first time that this has happened with a client at this business that they are also employee of? Like if this was the third
The
person.
culture of the business.
Or I'm not
What are you
not
talking
even
about?
aside from the culture of the business. Like I am hired as a coach for a company, and the third time I'm working with someone, or the fourth client I have, and they're quitting or they're exploding or just exiting coaching. Regardless of how good of a coach you are, I'm not saying whether this person was a bad coach. I'm going to assume they're a good coach by ICF standards. But if for some reason that happens and you strike out for the
They're
third
just,
time
like,
for
in the
whatever
most, like,
reason,
toxic, I don't want to coach environment.
not even that. I'm assuming the best case scenario where you are a good coach and it is a healthy, somewhat healthy corporate environment. If I am
I
not,
don't think all those are in alignment, though.
you're not, but I'm just assuming, the best case scenario,
Okay.
and you just happen to be unlucky. If you keep striking out like that as your job, you might start to get the feeling that you are looking bad to the people who hired you or your supervisors, that you're not capable of performing your job as a coach. And your supervisors might be evaluating you to a different criteria than you're evaluating yourself. So the next client you get, you might be more invested in their success than you ought to be, than you realistically should be.
Right.
And that's in the best case scenario where you're doing your due diligence. The company culture is not toxic, and it's not, maybe just the industry is not for them.
Well, that's at that point though. I think if it's third time in a row, because like 3 times for me is that's a like one time, okay.
That's a
2
self
times, 2 times there's something going on. 3 times, okay.
I'm making up a hypothetical situation to like emphasize the point.
I get that, but like what I would do though is if I'm being sponsored, at that point I would go to my sponsor. And I would go to the person that is paying me, and I would say, okay, something is going. I mean, either my approach isn't working, or but this is we need to at that point we're having a talk with whoever that person that's paying me, and I'm gonna express what's going on with me and be willing to walk away if that is the best solution, if this isn't working. And at that point the sponsor is going to tell me if what is working, what isn't working, and maybe even assist me in a different approach or something like that. And I think a lot will come to light.
But then the nature of the very situation that you find yourself in as an internal coach, coaching other employees, it makes it so that you are more invested in the outcome naturally than an external coach or somebody who's not attached to a sponsor.
Just one person, one off.
Another hypothetical example would be if you're like an up and coming coach. Let's say you want to be a thought leader, or speaker, or an influencer, and a coach. You want to be this big, famous coach, and you land a famous client. Like you land someone who might, by their very review of you, could make or break your career as a coach. Like that lives in your mind. Like I don't know who that would be for each of you guys. You were coaching. Who's the most famous person?
What's weird though is like I feel like there's things I would have in play. Like I can see that. Like yes, but I can see like how somebody could be very invested in it.
Yeah.
The first thing I thought of in my head, I wouldn't be expecting the review from them. I would just charge them a lot. Like I would just go the other way.
I don't know,
like you don't ever have to say anything nice about me. I'll maintain your confidentiality that we ever work together. This doesn't ever have to result in a review, but I'm charging you on a sliding scale situation kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Let's say you were coaching the Pope. For example. Yeah, the Pope. Yeah.
I
Or
don't
the
see
president
that.
of whatever country you happen to live in.
Yeah.
Martha Stewart would be a big hitter.
Oprah. You're coaching Oprah.
Oh my God.
Dr. Phil.
Wow.
What's
that
the point
could.
again?
Well, I'm just saying, who your client is
I can
might
see a
cause
coach,
you to be
though,
more
like-
invested.
Like, yeah, jumping through.
Yeah, but again, you're talking about the coaching agreement. You're probably already going to have decided from the start, if this goes well, here's what's going to happen. If this doesn't, and you're not going to use those words, goes well, but so that you're going to have how the coaching is going to end and how it's going to potentially then, right? Like you're going to know from the start. I can't imagine you're going to coach someone famous and not know from the start if you're going to get exposure from this or not. Nobody's just giving free exposure.
And so exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
exactly.
that's
The other
the
piece
whole
of it, too,
thing.
is to
It's a
consider is
service.
a lot of having worked with, and it's having worked with B-list, C-list type folk, right? Like it seems like it's never easy with those folks either, though. They are the ones that tend to want special boundaries, ask for special considerations. And I could see a lot of coaches being willing to be extra flexible in their contracts and write in special things for those people. But I would always caution them to do so in a way that is still going to serve them and serve them to be successful, right? We don't want to ever bend so far that it's no longer going to be successful or coaching or abiding by the ICF, ethics and rules.
Yeah.
But that's probably something people have to learn. I mean, I don't know. I think I've had all different types of clients at one time or another, and I've definitely had ones that were boundary pushers and ones that were not boundary pushers. And there have been times where I was willing to be more flexible with my boundaries, and times when I was like, no, this is just a rigid. This is what we're doing. And I definitely, with time and confidence, I got more willing, more rigid for sure. Like the more clients I had, and the more I needed structure to be successful. Like I needed it in order to balance everything, manage everything, and know that I was going to be able to pay my bills the next month. So.
And these again are just like hypothetical situations, but they're not unlikely scenarios.
No, not at all.
That might affect your investment in the outcome of this person's goals.
And in all of this, it reminds me that we as coach should not be autonomous in the sense that like we should keep everything confidential with what's going on with our clients, but have people to speak to about what is going on with us. Like if you're in that situation, if we are like, I will do anything for Oprah, but there might come a point where it's like, she's asking me for this and I don't know, and so having a sounding board, or several sounding boards.
You wouldn't say Oprah's asking me for this. She would say,
I have a client.
I'm in a conundrum. I have something I'm being asked, but I feel really uncomfortable with. So you share, but ambiguity, expression of it.
And so that's the peer support essentially for coaches that is so vital, and why we have our alumni group.
Yeah. I feel like there should be more like coaching, like the therapists, they all get together. They at least it used to be like this. They would open an office and then they would all have office hours and stuff. And
like a practice,
a law practice. Or law practice. There should be more like group coaching practices. I'm sure there are.
Well, that's that one business that group was trying to
Oh yeah.
pitch. I don't know. And if you're listening to this, Oprah, I would jump through so many hoops. I would be flexible with my boundaries. I don't know about these other people who have principles and whatnot, but I'll be spineless and do whatever.
I'm with you, Anthony.
So I think we're starting to come to the end of our topic here. I mean, what are our takeaways? Let's move in.
Well, we need to finish, I think, with the redefining of success when the coaching container ends. Like Anthony presented at the beginning, you did 10 sessions, they showed up for 10 sessions, and that's it.
Yeah, I'd call that a success.
That's success. I mean, the success is that it completed, right? If we did it. If it ends at 7 and the client says, I got everything I needed, thank you. That is success. That is still successful.
I'm gonna put a little twist on this. You should also redefine the value of success and failure. Sometimes things can fail and it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes things succeed and it was not for the better. I'm going to use the parallel of like a marriage. Some people will probably have been married until either one of their partners died, and they should have gotten divorced a long time ago.
I'll tell you this.
Other times, and the inverse is true.
My grandma, ever since my grandfather died, she was like, I think that people who go out and date after their spouse died, it was because they had a happy marriage. And that's what my grandma said to me. And
she did not date after.
She stays home, reads books. She doesn't want anybody, she wants to be by herself. That is what
she reads smutty.
And that is her thing, and she has no desire whatsoever. And that was what she said to me about it. And I was like, it's one of those things where she's that marriage, by all accounts, standing back, if you're not looking, you'd say, oh, it was successful. They stayed together until he passed away, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, I don't think she was very happy in that marriage for a lot of time. And I think she's been happier, honestly, since he has left the world.
So the point is, and my final thought is, don't redefine what success is. Redefine the value of success and failure. Because success is not something that is immediately valuable to you, and neither is failure should be avoided. Some things need to fail and some things ought not to succeed if you want to grow as a person and as a coach. Final thought.
Good thought. There's also someone who will cut client leave in mid coaching, like you have 10, they leave at 5. A lot of the times those clients will come back later. There's times that they need to step away, do the growth that they talked about.
Yeah.
You can't just keep growing. It needs time to build and live out. And so sometimes the client just needs to go and take care of business with that, and then they'll come back. I had clients that would come back every few years for one session, just as a check-in, a reminder kind of thing, once a year, every few months. It just depends on the client and what serves them. I learned to not take it personal. I would check in now and again if I knew I hadn't seen somebody, let's say in 6 months. I would, and they have a couple sessions, just checking in, sending you a smile, and call it a day. It's up to them to tell me after I have tapped on their door,
And I think that if I'm somebody who's sitting and it might hinging my success as a coach on the success and failure of my clients, right? And what their goals is really, it's kind of a little bit like what we talked about last week, which is living your life through somebody else, right? But if you maybe look at whatever happens as did what I do in this coaching relationship give me the ability to be a better coach? Did I learn in this?
Mm-hmm.
Did I grow as a coach? And am I better equipped to be a coach in the next, for my next client? That measurement for success might be one that is a whole lot more satisfying for you as a human being than one that is hinged entirely on what your clients are doing.
Yeah. If you want to live through someone else's life and successes, be a parent, not a coach.
Oh my goodness, Anthony. Oh my.
Jerome, Jen, final thoughts?
I mean, I think we brought it up a couple times already. It's came up in my head a few times. It parallels any relationship, I feel like. And I think what's important is to keep and maintain peace within yourself so that you're the best version of yourself for the world or your clients.
So if your client is making you volatile and triggered, you should probably not work with them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not always an option in the group fitness world though, because there's definitely every so often we get somebody that comes in and you gotta work, and you just hope they change or they leave.
You hope they fail so badly.
It happens. Not often, but it does happen.
But I believe it's somewhere too in ICF where you have autonomy as a coach to decide who you work with and who you refer out, who you say no to. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there are sometimes when you just do not want to work with someone. And the reason doesn't even matter sometimes. It's just if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that client is going to be better suited for someone else. And if you know that as a coach, then send them on their way and let them find the coach that's right for them. Mm-hmm. So my final thought in this, I think, is that I've had a couple clients and, like one in particular, never did their last session. And I opened it up as like, you can come back at any time. The session isn't going anywhere. Reach out anytime. And I checked in here and there, for a certain period of time that I decided was appropriate. And since then, I've stopped because this person is obviously doing well.
That's 100% something I would do. I'm like,
yeah.
I like my Irish goodbyes. I don't want a last session. I don't want to be like, this is it. This is the end. I'm gonna miss you. I want to just like sneak away.
Exactly. And also too, like just leaving it open. I've stated, you have a session paid for. You can come back at any time. And so one day, if this person really needs a session, I trust that they'll come back around. But until then, this client has given me every indication that they are thriving. So, it's one of those where
sabotage them.
It's one of those where it's like my ego is like, damn, I would have really liked to keep working with this client. I really enjoyed working with this client. But the reality is that this was a success. Like this was a good fit and this was a good partnership. And if this client moved past needing me, if this client outgrew me, thank God I did my job then. So, yeah.
And there is one of the things that was in all our readings, just a reminder and something maybe to look up. Like if you want to like have a very specific flow or way that it's last session, they talk about having exit interviews and things that you can do. And all of that is something you can look up online. But
I believe they recommend also doing a final session complimentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't doing nothing complimentary.
Well, I mean, obviously it's a recommendation, not a requirement, but I thought that was an interesting idea is like, okay, because the final session might just be shooting the shit.
Yeah, exactly. And getting a review, getting a testimonial and doing your exit interview, asking what worked, what didn't. And at that point, that is about you. If it's me, the coach asking, like doing an exit interview, that's not for the client. That's for me as the coach, right? So I'm not going to charge my client for that. I'm not like it would definitely be something that we happen afterwards, and I would be like, okay, I just want to talk to you quickly about what happened, and I would keep it short for them and respect their time, and then Yeah. So I think that's where that comes from. And then if they had a great time, you milk that testimonial. So
It also, even that last session, even if you should choose to go the freebie route, it's a return on investment or return on, what's the other word? I forgot. On what the client, where they started, what they went through, where they came through, and where they are. So it helps them understand their growth as well.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you all for showing up, especially Kat Sweeney.
Yeah, thank you, Kat.
Yay.
Good to see you.
And if you want to have a coaching session and relationship that is a success, always take Coaching 101 and 102, and you will learn how to redefine and reevaluate your criteria for success as a coach and as a human being for the rest of your life.
If you need a sign to take our classes, this is your sign.
This is not a sign. This is me telling you, take our classes. All right, we'll see you guys later with next week with a different topic.
Okay.
Oh, not next week, the week after.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be
Oh, yeah.
gone
Next
next week. I'm gonna be in Florida.